Professor, o senhor se tornou muito famoso depois que o filme What a Blip foi feito inspirado no seu livro Universo Autoconsciente. Eu queria que o senhor me falasse sobre a questão da intenção. Como que a intenção, quer dizer, a colocação que o senhor faz de que o observador é responsável pela mudança que acontece na realidade, pelas alterações na realidade, e isso está se transformando num movimento mundial. As pessoas estão começando a usar isso em vários sentidos e até erroneamente. Queria que o senhor comentasse sobre esses filmes, O Segredo e o Quem Somos Nós, que foi o nome brasileiro do filme What a Blip. Como que o senhor vê a intenção? Como que o senhor explica isso?
Thank you for this wonderful question. So intentions are very basic in quantum physics because we have already posited the idea that consciousness is the ground of being in which quantum possibilities exist, and consciousness chooses from these possibilities one facet, and that facet becomes actual event of conscious experience. So what is this consciousness? Our common sense says that it is us, our ego, ordinary state of our consciousness, and that's where we choose. And many people indeed jumped onto that idea when a physicist coined the phrase, we choose our own reality. Sounds wonderful, so people started choosing motor cars and big houses and started intending that kind of thing. The movie Secret actually propagates this even in the year of 2006, 2007. So although the original idea died down in the 70s, it has been revived now. So we have that problem. What one has to do is to examine the situation a little bit deeply. It's more subtle. If we say that we choose at the individual ego level, then the paradox arises that suppose there is a dichotomy situation. Let's say a traffic light which has two possibilities, two quantum possibilities, red and green. And you are approaching from one street and your friend is approaching from the perpendicular street. Being busy people, both will want green, but whose choice will count? This paradox, which is called paradox of Wigner's friend, because a Nobel laureate physicist Eugene Wigner first gave us this paradox. This paradox is not easily solvable, because if you say, well, okay, your choice is the one that counts, you will be called solipsistic. Now that's okay, but your friend will also think the same way, that she is the head honcho of the universe and not you. Paradox is just shifted from who gets to choose to who gets to the head honcho of the universe. In this way, this paradox really thwarted all effort to bring consciousness into physics for several decades, until Ludwig Voss in Australia, myself in Oregon, and Casey Blood in Rutgers, New Jersey, all came up with the same solution, which is very strange, very uncommon sense, and very mystical, which is the idea that choice happens at the level of a non-ordinary state of consciousness of cosmic unity, where all of us are interconnected. This interconnection of consciousness, or consciousness being an interconnectedness that transcends space and time and does not require connection through signals, is new, and only quantum physics has it. This concept cannot be generated through any kind of Newtonian physics or any kind of extension of Newtonian physics. It's radically new, it's called quantum non-locality. So consciousness is non-local. This is what is lacking in the common sense expectation that we, in our ordinary local identity with the brain, can change a possibility into actual event, and therefore can choose profitable things for us. We can't, unfortunately.
É possível medir esse fenômeno do qual o senhor está falando? Porque a física é sobre medir, não é?
Thank you for the question. Yes, this is then a consequence of the theory that consciousness is the ground of being, and it chooses out of quantum possibilities the actual event of experience. That consciousness then has to be non-local. We have to have a non-local interconnectedness.
Yes, sir.
So therefore, two people should be able to communicate non-locally without exchanging signal. Now, it should also be, to make it credible, it better be a brain phenomenon that gets transferred to another brain. And indeed, this was what was verified by Jacobo Greenberg, a neurophysiologist at the University of Mexico, who let two people meditate together with the intention that they communicate directly without signals. And they were indeed, after a brief meditation period, they were separated, put in separate Faraday cages, electromagnetically impervious chambers. Their brains were connected with EEG machines, electroencephalogram. And then one subject, and only one subject, was shown a series of light flashes. So this subject's brain has all kinds of electrical activity in response to the light flashes.
E essa atividade elétrica foi medida?
And then that could be measured in the EEG machine connected to the brain, what is normally called brain wave. And from that, an evoked potential is extracted. What is amazing and defies any kind of local common sense explanation is that the other subject, who does not see any light flashes, other subjects' EEG connected to the other subject's brain also shows a potential which is virtually the same in intensity, in strength, and even the phase overlap is fully 71% in one particular case, 75% in another case, 67% in another case. In other words, it's substantial always. So what is then the consequence, the conclusion of the experiment is that the electrical activity from a brain is being transferred to another brain without any electrical connection or contact.
E há outras medidas desse fenômeno? Há outros cientistas trabalhando nisso, Dr. Arnott?
So after Jacobo Greenberg did this at the University of Mexico in 1993-94, Peter Fenwick verified the same thing with slightly different arrangement in his laboratory in London. And then, since then, two other experiments. One was by Wackerman. I don't know the details of this experiment, but another one by Liana Standish and her group at Bastyr University in Seattle verified the same thing. So now 4 independent experiments have shown that, yes, brain-to-brain information transfer without any electromagnetic connection is possible, is measured, and therefore non-locality of consciousness, because only way you can explain this is there is a non-local connection. Connection through what? Obviously, it has to be consciousness, because only consciousness can choose out of brain possibilities the actual event in the second observer's brain, which is similar to the first observer's experience.